On the wall, the expensive European clock's hour hand advanced towards midnight with a cold and precise rhythm. Each tick-tock was like a small hammer, tapping lightly but surely on my heart. I sat alone in the echoing, empty living room of the villa, the icy leather sofa draining the last bit of warmth from my body. Our third wedding anniversary, a night that should have been filled with flowers, champagne, and love, was now just me and the dead silence of the room. On the long dining table, covered with the silver-gray tablecloth I had specially chosen, for dishes and a bowl of soup were laid out. The squirrel fish no longer held its crisp, curled shape, and a thin layer of white oil had congealed on the soup. The asparagus and shrimp had lost their vibrant color, looking utterly tired. These were all Isabella Thorne's favorite dishes, which I had spent an entire afternoon meticulously preparing as if they were works of art. Now, like me, they were forgotten in this cold corner, completely chilled through. In the center of the dining table lay a velvet blue box. I opened it, and the internal light automatically illuminated, revealing a diamond necklace named Starry Night. The main diamond refracted a brilliant yet cold light under the illumination, strikingly similar to the look in Isabella's eyes when she gazed at me. For this, I had spent 3 months' worth of my entire salary, my pay as the assistant to the Thorne Group CEO, a position that sounded respectable but was, in reality, full of irony. I closed the box and turned my gaze to the enormous LCD screen on the wall. The screen was nationally broadcasting a grand evening event: Celestial Melody Returns, Julian Vance Piano Concert, and Homecoming Gala. And my wife, Isabella Thorne, the city's youngest and most dazzling female CEO, was the host of this very gala. On screen, she was breathtakingly beautiful, dressed in an Atelier Versace haute couture silver mermaid gown. It perfectly accentuated her graceful figure, with scattered diamonds on the hem like a spilled galaxy. She was linked arm in arm with a man, her face blooming with a smile. That smile was gentle, radiant, and held a hint of genuine shyness and joy that I had never seen before. The man was Julian Vance, a prodigy pianist hailed as the poet of the fingertips, Isabella's eternal idealized love. He wore a fitting white tuxedo, his golden hair gleaming under the spotlight, like Apollo stepping out of a myth. Standing together, receiving blessings from all the celebrities present and wild adoration from the media, they truly looked like a match made in heaven. The live comments, scrolling madly like poisoned daggers, precisely stabbed into my heart. OMG, what a divine couple Isabella and Julian are. I could stand their looks for 100 years. Lock them in. I swallowed the key. This is what a true high society romance fairy tale looks like. When are they going to make it official? I'm dying here. Speaking of which, isn't today CEO Isabella's 3rd wedding anniversary? Where's that live-in son-in-law, Alex? LOL, to be forgotten even on a day like this. He's truly the most pathetic tool ever. Tool? Does he even deserve to be? He's just a dog kept by the Thorne family. Expressionless, I picked up the remote control and turned off the TV. The screen plunged into darkness, reflecting my pale and numb face. In my chest, that familiar dull pain, as if tightly clutched by an invisible hand, arrived right on schedule. For 3 years of marriage, I lived like a shadow. Isabella's shadow. I managed her daily life, dealt with her difficult clients, and endured the scorn and ridicule of everyone in the Thorne family. Her brother openly called me a freeloader, and her mother never set a place for me at family gatherings. And I silently endured it all, just to earn an occasional glance when she was tired. Alex, it's good to have you by my side. I naively thought that all hearts were made of flesh. If I just gave enough, I could one day warm her cold heart, encased in fame, fortune, and ambition. It wasn't until I returned from another timeline, reborn, filled with resentment and unwillingness, that I truly understood a brutal truth. You can never wake someone who pretends to be asleep, nor can you ever warm a heart that doesn't belong to you. So, when the sound of the password lock unlocking came from the entryway, when Isabella walked into the living room, reeking of strong alcohol and another man's cologne, I didn't rush to meet her as I used to take off her high heels and offer her warm water. She was clearly displeased with my dereliction of duty tonight, her delicate brows furrowed slightly. She casually tossed her expensive Chanel jacket onto the sofa and commanded in a condescending, matter-of-fact tone, "Alex, take this to be ironed. I need to wear it for tomorrow's dinner." I didn't move, nor did I even glance at the jacket. My gaze calmly settled on her face, slightly blurred by alcohol. Slowly, I pushed a document on the table towards her. The stagnant, dead-water tone of my voice was unfamiliar even to myself. "Isabella, let's get a divorce." She froze for a full 3 seconds. Then, as if she had heard the funniest joke of the century, she let out a short, sharp sneer. "Alex, what kind of reverse psychology game are you playing now?" She walked to the bar, poured herself a whiskey, and waved her hand impatiently. "Is it because I forgot our anniversary? Or do you want that new sports car as a gift? All right, stop messing around. I'm very tired today, and I'm not in the mood to play your games." She had no idea that this time, I wasn't joking. Because exactly 1 year ago today, in my previous life, I died alone, like an abandoned stray dog, in that overwhelming blizzard. And in the final moments before my life ended, I finally saw the bloody, sickening full truth behind this so-called marriage. In my past life, I had no memory of rebirth. I was just a fool who loved so humbly that I was trampled into the dust, yet still deluded myself into believing I could make a flower bloom. In the 4th year of our marriage, Isabella returned from a business trip abroad, her face pale, and told me she had been diagnosed with late-stage pancreatic cancer. In that instant, I felt my entire world crumble. I held her, sobbing uncontrollably like a child, repeating, "It's okay, it's okay. I'll be with you. We'll definitely cure it." To ensure she could focus on her treatment without any worries, I went behind her back and had a vasectomy. The doctor repeatedly confirmed my wishes, but I calmly told him that I couldn't let my wife be distracted by something like childbirth in the final stage of her life. I personally cut off my own possibility of having children, just wanting her to live without any burdens. I leveraged all my connections, even going so far as to kneel and beg my estranged family, exhausting the last of the trust fund my parents left me, to send her to a private sanatorium in Switzerland, which claimed to possess the world's most advanced cancer treatment technology. She said the treatment required absolute tranquility, that she couldn't be disturbed by anyone, not even video calls, to avoid affecting her emotional state. I believed her, so I could only carefully maintain contact with her through email. During the 3 years she was abroad for treatment, the vast Thorn Group was leaderless, and internal factional struggles intensified. It was I who, dragging my body already weakened from years of drinking on her behalf and entertaining clients, shouldered the entire company for her. I worked over 18 hours a day, had irregular meals, and stomach bleeding became commonplace. The most severe time, I was so exhausted during a crucial merger and acquisition meeting that I vomited blood on the spot, staining the documents in front of me red. I simply went to the restroom to rinse my mouth, wiped away the blood from my lips, returned to the meeting, and ultimately secured the project. Everyone thought I was doing it for the Thorn family's power, but only I knew that I was guarding her empire for my beloved, waiting for her to recover and return. 3 years later, I finally received a call from the Swiss sanatorium, stating that Isabella's cancer cells were effectively controlled, but due to long-term chemotherapy, she had severe kidney failure and urgently needed a kidney match. And my blood type and various indicators matched hers with 100% compatibility. Without a moment's hesitation, I dropped all my work and booked the fastest flight to Switzerland. At a hospital in Zurich, I saw Isabella, who had been sick for 3 years. She was much thinner, her face pale, and she looked utterly piteous. Before the surgery, she held my hand, tears welling in her beautiful eyes, and her voice was the gentlest I remembered. "Alex, thank you for everything you've done for me. When I'm better, we'll adopt a child, and the 3 of us will live a good life together." In that moment, I thought all my suffering and waiting had finally culminated in blooming spring. However, reality dealt me the heaviest blow. After donating a kidney, my body completely broke down. While I was still recovering, the company's power was completely usurped by a confidant she sent, and I was expelled from the Thorn Group under the pretext of poor health unsuitable for high-intensity work. I was left with nothing, unable to even return to our former marital home. I frantically tried to contact her, only to find that the familiar Swiss number was disconnected and my emails went unanswered. Penniless, I roamed the streets, surviving on odd jobs. Until one day, I ran into one of her former assistants on the street. She was in a hurry and accidentally left a tablet computer behind in a cafe. As if possessed by a ghost, I picked up the tablet. There was no password. On the tablet, I saw a private social media account I had never seen before, named Isabella and Julian's Fairy Tale. Clicking on it was like opening Pandora's box. Inside were thousands of photos, meticulously documenting her so-called treatment life over the past 3 years. The first photo showed her and Julian on a beach in the Maldives, wearing matching swimsuits, smiling radiantly. In the background was the seaside villa I had personally designed when we got married. The posting date was the second week after she told me she had cancer. The second photo was taken under the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Her lower abdomen was slightly rounded, and Julian was gently kissing her belly. The caption read, "Our little angel, the best gift from God." The third photo was in front of a snow-capped mountain in Switzerland, with a cute, blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby giggling. She held the child, nestled with Julian, looking like the happiest family of 3 in the world. I scrolled through them one by one, from their European trip to their child's first steps, their first mama. My hands trembled so much I could barely hold the tablet. It felt as if all the blood had been instantly drained from my body and replaced with ice shards. The so-called cancer was fake. The so-called treatment was fake. The so-called inability to contact was also fake. She merely used an enormous lie to trap me, her inconvenient husband, in the country, like a blindfolded donkey, grinding away to make money for her and her lover. Meanwhile, she and her beloved were abroad, enjoying the family happiness that should have been mine. The most fatal blow was the last post, published the day after my kidney donation surgery. "Darling, how does your new kidney feel? You'll never be tormented by illness again. We truly have to thank that fool. His selfless love is truly a great benefactor to our family of 3. The accompanying picture showed Julian lying in a top VIP hospital room, wearing a patient gown, yet showing no sign of illness, even flashing a victory sign at the camera. On the medical equipment behind him, his name was clearly displayed, Julian Vance. It turned out that the kidney I donated never even entered Isabella's body. From beginning to end, she had only planned to use it to prolong the life of her uremic lover. In that moment, I couldn't even cry. Overwhelming hatred and despair, like a black tide, completely engulfed me. I became a soulless zombie, wandering the city's corners. Finally, on a snowy winter night, due to the excruciating pain of post-operative complications and having no money for painkillers, I curled up on a cold street corner and literally died of agony. In the second before I closed my eyes, I used every last bit of my strength to utter the most venomous curse and the most fervent prayer to the heavens. If there is a next life, I, Alex, will never fall in love again, never give my true heart again. I will make all who have deceived me, humiliated me, betrayed me, and harmed me fall into the Avicii hell, never to be reborn. Alex, are you done making a scene? Isabella's cold and impatient voice, like a bucket of cold water, dragged me back from the biting memories of my previous life. She looked down at me, scrutinizing me. In those eyes I once deeply loved, there was now only contempt and irritation, as if she were looking at an unreasonable child. "I know you're upset because I forgot our anniversary. How about this? I'll have the lawyer transfer the riverside villa in the east of the city to your name tomorrow as compensation. Now, put away this ridiculous divorce agreement, and don't make me look down on you." In my previous life, a single sentence like that, a gift like that, would have been enough to make me weep with gratitude, feeling that all my grievances had been compensated. But now, these words in my ears only filled me with utter revulsion. I slowly rose from the sofa. My 185-meter height, for the first time, allowed me to completely overshadow her in presence. I looked directly into her eyes. Those eyes that once could drown me, now could no longer stir even a ripple in my heart. I said, clearly and coldly, one word at a time. "The house, I don't want it. The shares of Thorn Group, I won't take a single cent. I only want 2 things. First, the divorce. Second, you disappear from my sight immediately." My calm and decisive demeanor finally caused a crack to appear on Isabella's perpetually confident and composed face. She frowned, scrutinizing me closely, as if trying to find even a hint of pretense on my face. What exactly do you want? Alex, when did you learn to use such methods to get my attention? Do you think I'll give you a second glance this way? No. I smiled, a smile she had never seen before, carrying the mockery and coldness of a Siberian wind. I'm not trying to get your attention. I'm simply tired. Tired of you. Tired of the Thorne family. Tired of being a fawning dog begging for scraps. Ignoring the mixed expression of shock and irritation on her face, I walked straight to the master bedroom on the second floor. In this room, my belongings were pitifully few. A few clothes, a few books, an old photo frame. I took out the suitcase I had already prepared and, in less than 15 minutes, packed up all traces of my 3-year marriage. When I dragged the suitcase downstairs, Isabella was genuinely panicked. It wasn't out of love, but out of a furious anger that her possession was about to slip out of her control. Alex, stop right there. She rushed over, grabbing my arm, her nails almost digging into my flesh. Are you out of your mind? Leaving me, leaving the Thorne family, what do you think you are? The entire business world will mock you for the rest of your life. That's still better than being a husband in name only, a spare organ bank that can be sacrificed for someone else at any time. I gently pushed her hand away, my gaze moving past her, landing on the shadow not far behind her. Let your white moonlight come out. Hiding in my house. Aren't you ashamed? As my words fell, Julian Vance slowly emerged from the shadows of the staircase. A trace of exposed embarrassment lingered on his face, but it was quickly replaced by a triumphant smile. He walked to Isabella's side, embracing her waist with an extremely natural and possessive gesture, and challenged me with the air of a victor. Alex, since you're so self-aware, you should have gotten out sooner. The one Isabella truly loves has always been me, from beginning to end. You were just a pathetic substitute, a cover-up. Isabella's body stiffened for a moment, but she didn't push him away. Her silence was her acceptance. Fine, I nodded, as if watching a boring play, and dragged the suitcase towards the heavy, carved double doors. I wish you two a long and lasting life together. Locked in, forever. I've thrown away the key for you. With a resounding bang, I shut the gilded cage that had imprisoned me in both my past and present lives. Inside the door, Isabella watched my resolute retreating back. A strange, empty feeling welled up in her heart, as if something important had been lost forever with the closing of that door. But she quickly attributed this odd sensation to the displeasure of losing control over a possession. Darling, he's finally gone, Julian whispered in her ear, his voice tinged with eagerness. Now, there are no more obstacles for us. Isabella took a deep breath, nestled into his embrace, and a smile returned to her face. Yes, that annoying man who made her feel constrained was finally gone. She should be happy. The first thing I did after leaving the Thorne family wasn't to find a place to live, but to go to the bank. I mortgaged and cashed out all the movable and immovable assets left by my parents, including several properties in prime locations and a substantial trust fund. The bank's account manager looked at me as if I were insane, but under the temptation of a hefty commission, he still expedited everything for me. A dizzyingly large sum of cash flowed into my private account. Then, without hesitation, I invested the entire sum into the cryptocurrency that was then ignored by everyone and even widely dismissed by all mainstream financial analysts as a tulip bubble, Ethereum. In my previous life, it was in the second year after my death, exactly 1 year from this moment, that this cryptocurrency experienced an epic surge, multiplying nearly 10,000 times in just a few months, creating countless overnight wealth myths. And now, I was going to be one of the creators of that myth. For the next month, I rented a small apartment in the old district. The room wasn't large, but it got plenty of sunlight. My life became extremely simple: a high-spec computer, piles of complex financial data charts, and boxes upon boxes of instant noodles. Like a beast lurking in the shadows, I retracted all my claws, quietly waiting for my moment to hunt. The Thorne family, it seemed, had completely forgotten about me, their ex-husband. Isabella and Julian began to openly appear everywhere together, making high-profile appearances at various social events. News, magazines, and social media were filled with press releases about their fabled romance, with some media even speculating when they would hold their wedding. My name had become a forgotten joke in a corner, an insignificant, even somewhat ridiculous footnote in their perfect love story. Until one morning, a month later. Ladies and gentlemen, we are witnessing history. Breaking news. Ethereum has broken its historical high overnight, with a single-day increase of over 8,000 times. The global financial market is shaken. On the TV news, the financial anchor's voice was almost distorted with excitement. As for me, I calmly closed the almost vertically rising candlestick chart on my computer screen, looked at the dizzying string of numbers in my bank account, walked to the balcony, and lit a cigarette for myself. Amidst the swirling smoke, I looked down at the city that had once brought me so much humiliation. The era of Alex had begun. The first thing I did was to acquire a failing investment company and rename it Nirvana Capital. Nirvana, meaning rebirth from ashes. The second thing was to use my memories from my previous life, like a prophet from the future, to precisely target industry giants that would face various crises in the future, technological iteration, policy risks, black swan events, and aggressively short their stocks at their peak prices. At the same time, I reinvested the enormous profits gained into future tech upstarts that were still in their infancy and not favored by the world, such as AI companies and new energy battery enterprises that were then just small workshops. Every move I made was as if I had a God's eye view, precise, ruthless, and leaving no room for error. My operating style made all of Wall Street take notice. In just half a year, Nirvana Capital emerged like a black unicorn, disrupting the entire financial world with an arrogant and unreasonable demeanor. The name Alex was no longer the Thorne family's live-in son-in-law, but the Eagle of Capital, revered and feared by everyone on Wall Street. Chapter 4. Chapter 4. The warm sun of a first meeting. My career swiftly got on track with devastating speed, yet my life remained as bland as a glass of plain water. That was until one day, while scouting a community commercial investment project, Alex stumbled into an independent coffee shop located in a quiet alley on the west side of the city. The coffee shop's name was very warm, Warm Sun Nook. Pushing open the door, wind chimes rang out with a clear sound. The afternoon sun poured in through the large floor-to-ceiling windows, and the air was filled with the rich aroma of coffee and a subtle sweetness of baked goods. Behind the counter, a girl was intently making pour-over coffee. She wore a simple white cotton long dress, her long, dark hair casually tied back with a wooden hairpin, a few stray strands playfully framing her ears. She didn't possess the aggressive, overwhelmingly dazzling beauty of Isabella. Instead, she was like a ray of spring sunshine, clean, warm, making people unconsciously want to draw closer and feel an unprecedented sense of peace. "Sir, what would you like?" She looked up and gave me a gentle smile, her eyes curving into beautiful crescent moons. "A pour-over, Yurgachev." Alex found a seat by the window, sat down, and opened his laptop. Soon, she placed a cup of coffee, exuding an enticing fruity acidity, in front of me. She inadvertently caught sight of the complex candlestick charts and data streams on my laptop screen. "Wow." She leaned forward curiously, her voice filled with pure wonder. "Are you an investment? You look really impressive." This was the first time since my rebirth that Alex had been described with a word like impressive instead of relying on my wife or live-in son-in-law. My heart inexplicably skipped a beat. Alex nodded somewhat unnaturally. "I know a little. My name is Clara." She extended her hand generously towards me. Her palm had slight calluses from years of brewing coffee. "I just opened this shop not long ago. I hope you'll give me your patronage in the future." Alex took her hand. That warm, soft, and dry touch felt like a warm current, instantly spreading through my entire body. That afternoon, Alex didn't deal with work. We talked a lot, from the flavors of coffee beans from different origins, to Haruki Murakami's novels, and even the latest tech news. Alex was surprised to find that this seemingly gentle and quiet girl possessed such insightful and independent views. Her understanding of the world was clear and profound. Most importantly, she never asked about my past, nor did she care how much wealth I possessed. In her eyes, I was just Alex, a guest who enjoyed pour-over coffee in the afternoon. Being with her, Alex felt an unprecedented sense of relaxation. It was a comfort Alex had never experienced in his 3-year marriage with Isabella. The feeling of being respected simply as a person. Meanwhile, the Thorn Group was plunged into an unprecedented major crisis. Because Alex had planned a year in advance, seizing all upstream patents and raw material supply channels for their most crucial future new energy battery project. This project was Isabella's crucial gamble, one she pushed for against all opposition, staking the entire group's future on it. Now, before the project even began, it was as if Alex had strangled it, leaving them in a dilemma. As soon as the news broke, rumors of the Thorn Group's capital chain breaking spread like wildfire, and its stock price hit the daily limit for half a month straight. Isabella's father, Chairman Thorn, who once looked down on me with disdain, called me proactively for the first time. The moment the call connected, Alex was in warm sun nook, watching Clara earnestly wiping coffee cups in the sunlight, a picture of tranquil serenity. Alex, on the other end of the line, Chairman Thorn's voice was no longer the arrogant command of the past. Instead, it carried a hint of imperceptible pleading and weariness. Can we talk? I know we wronged you in the past, but for Isabella's sake, and for the sake of our past relationship, please stop. Whatever conditions Nirvana Capital needs, just name them. Alex picked up the coffee Clara had just refilled for me and chuckled softly. Chairman, the business world is like a battlefield. You understand this truth better than I do. As for past relationships, Alex paused, the mockery in my tone undisguised. Is there really any past relationship left between us? After saying that, Alex directly hung up the phone and blocked the number. Past relationships? Does my kidney count as one? The crisis of the Thorn Group was escalating, like an unstoppable avalanche. Banks were demanding loans, shareholders were selling off stocks, partners were terminating contracts. This once glorious business empire was now teetering on the brink of collapse. Isabella finally couldn't sit still any longer. On a gloomy, rainy afternoon, for the first time, she appeared as a petitioner downstairs at the headquarters of my Nirvana Capital. Without an appointment, she was stopped by the front desk. I watched her through the surveillance cameras. She was still so beautiful, dressed in a sharp black business suit, but her former arrogance was replaced by an undeniable weariness and anxiety. I had my secretary bring her up. My office was on the top floor, with 270-degree floor-to-ceiling windows, offering a panoramic view of the city's financial center. This place was once the vantage point of the Thorn Group. Now, the view was exclusively mine. Alex, I need an explanation. She got straight to the point the moment she entered, her voice laced with a suppressed tremor. An explanation for what? I sat calmly behind my massive ebony desk, gazing at her dispassionately, as if she were an unimportant stranger. Why? Why did you meticulously plot against the Thorn Group? Is it because of me? If you want revenge on me, come after me. Don't touch my family business. I stood up and slowly walked towards her, looking down at the face I once loved to distraction. Revenge on you? Isabella, you overestimate yourself. My voice was soft, yet sharp as a knife. I'm merely making what I believe are correct investments. As for the Thorn Group, it blocked my path, so I simply had to kick it aside. That's all. My understatement clearly stung her pride more than any fierce accusation. You're lying, she cried out emotionally, her composure slipping. You hate me. You hate me for forgetting our anniversary. You hate me for choosing Julian. Hate. I shook my head, a cruel curve playing on my lips. For a deceitful, calculating liar, I consider even hatred a waste of emotion. What did I lie to you about? She retorted sharply, putting on a brave face while feeling inwardly weak. For example, I deliberately drew out my words, enjoying the sight of the color draining from her face. A pancreatic cancer that lasted for 3 whole years? These words exploded in her ears like a thunderclap out of a clear sky. She staggered back a step, bumping into the bookshelf behind her, her eyes wide with disbelief as she stared at me. You? How could you know? How could I know? I pressed on, closing in. I also know that your so-called cancer treatment took place on the sunny beaches of the Maldives and in the luxury boutiques of Paris. I also know that you have a lovely child. Oh, and I also know. I leaned down and whispered into her ear, enunciating each word so only we could hear. The kidney I donated to you is now, isn't it, thriving and lively inside your dear Julian's body? This last sentence, like the final straw that broke the camel's back, utterly shattered all of Isabella's strength and pretense. Her body went limp, and she collapsed onto the cold floor, her lips trembling, unable to utter a single word, leaving only a desperate, hollow gaze. I picked up a thick manila envelope from my desk and tossed it in front of her. Papers scattered across the floor. Inside here are Julian Vance's complete, genuine medical records from his adolescence until now, detailing his congenital kidney disease. There are also all your spending records from abroad over the years, screenshots of your secret social media accounts, and the signed testimony from the chief surgeon who performed Julian's kidney transplant. Isabella, the game is over. I turned and walked back to my desk, picking up the internal phone, my voice returning to its usual coldness. Security? Escort, miss. Thorn out. From now on, without my permission, she and dogs are not allowed entry. Isabella didn't know how she managed to leave the Nirvana Capitol building. She walked aimlessly in the pouring rain, the icy water mingling with hot tears, blurring her vision. Alex's words, the evidence, seared into her mind repeatedly like red-hot branding irons. For the first time, her deep-seated belief in her love wavered, giving way to doubt. Back in the cold villa, she began to investigate frantically. Details that she had deliberately ignored in the past, hidden by the sweetness of love, now emerged like sharp thorns from the depths of her memory, piercing her all over. She hired a private investigator who easily uncovered Julian's other lover abroad, as well as their correspondence, which was filled with mockery of her as a stupid ATM. In a secret compartment in Julian's study, she found his forged medical records and his agreement with the Swiss doctor. The truth, like the sharpest scalpel, peeled away the beautiful facade of the love fairy tale that enveloped her, layer by layer, revealing the rotten, putrid, maggot-infested core within. It turned out that Julian had approached her from the very beginning solely for the Thorne family's wealth, and to use her as a tool to find and pay for an astronomically priced kidney source for him. So-called love was merely a meticulously planned scam from start to finish. And she was the fool who had lost everything yet remained smugly self-satisfied. That night, Isabella and Julian had their most intense argument ever. "Why did you lie to me? You liar!" she screamed hysterically, throwing the evidence at Julian's face. Seeing that everything was completely exposed, Julian tore off his mask of gentle hypocrisy, revealing his true, monstrous face. He sneered, "Lie to you? Isabella, if you weren't hopelessly stupid, who could deceive you? Alex poured his heart out to you, yet you still treated him like a dog, summoning him and dismissing him at will? Didn't you enjoy that feeling of having men wrapped around your finger?" He advanced on her step by step, his smile cruel and vicious. "Ultimately, we are the same kind of people, selfish. Don't pretend to be so innocent. You exploited Alex's love, I exploited your foolishness. We're quite fair, aren't we?" Isabella completely broke down. She screamed, driving Julian out of the house. Then, alone, she locked herself in the empty villa, repeatedly looking at old photos of her and Alex. Most of these photos were group shots in public places. In every single picture, Alex's gaze was always gentle and focused on her. But she, on the other hand, was always looking at the camera or elsewhere, never returning his gaze. She finally remembered that during her period, Alex would always have brown sugar ginger tea and hot packs ready in advance. When she had stomach pains, he would get up in the middle of the night to cook porridge for her all night. When she faced a business crisis, he would stay awake for 3 days and 3 nights, creating the most perfect solution for her. Those efforts she had once dismissed and taken for granted now replayed in her mind like a slow-motion film, frame by frame, each replay like 1,000 cuts to her heart. She finally understood what she had truly missed. She had missed a man's most sincere and unreserved love. She began frantically calling and messaging Alex, apologizing, repenting, pleading, but all her messages sank like stones into the sea, with no reply. She waited for him downstairs at his company, waiting all day, but couldn't even catch a glimpse of his taillights. The tenderness that was once within her easy grasp had now become an unattainable luxury. Endless regret, like a venomous snake, gnawed ceaselessly at her heart, day and night. While Isabella was imprisoned by regret and pain, my relationship with Clara was quietly blossoming. Alex became Warm Sun Cafe's most loyal customer. Every day at 3 in the afternoon, Alex would arrive punctually, sitting in Alex's regular windowside spot. Sometimes Alex worked, other times Alex simply watched Clara's busy figure in a daze. Clara grew accustomed to Alex's presence too, reserving a special coffee made with fresh beans for Alex, sharing Clara's freshly baked cookies, and complaining about a strange request from a customer that day. Alex and Clara's time together was natural and understated, yet brimming with gentle affection. On a misty, rainy afternoon, only Alex and Clara were in the cafe. The air was filled with the freshness of rain and the rich aroma of coffee. Alex finally mustered the courage to confess Alex's feelings to Clara. "Clara, I like you." Uttering these words made Alex more nervous than any multi-billion-dollar investment decision. Clara's hand, wiping a cup, paused. Then a smile bloomed on Clara's face, more radiant than the sun breaking through after the rain outside the window. "I like you too, Alex." Clara put down the cup, walked over to Alex, stood on tiptoe, and gently pressed a coffee-scented kiss on Alex's lips. Actually, it's been a long time. Naturally, Alex and Clara became a couple. There was no grand ceremony, no expensive gifts, just two hearts genuinely drawing close. Alex took Clara to meet Alex's few friends, and Clara took Alex to browse Clara's favorite secondhand book market. Like all the most ordinary couples, Alex and Clara made breakfast together on weekend mornings, walked hand in hand in the park in the evenings, and kissed freely on deserted streets late at night. Alex had never imagined that happiness could be so simple, so pure. A year later, the Thorn Group, after a long struggle, finally declared bankruptcy and liquidation. Isabella sold off all Isabella's family assets, barely managing to pay off the bank's debts. The once high and mighty darling of heaven, overnight, fell from grace, becoming utterly destitute. As for Julian, after losing Isabella as Julian's patron, Julian quickly had both Julian's hands broken due to massive gambling debts incurred in Macau. Those hands, once praised as kissed by God, could no longer play a single complete note. All the grievances from the past life had, in the fairest possible way, settled into dust. That day was Clara's 26th birthday. Alex booked the entire Warm Sun Cafe, decorating it with thousands of Clara's favorite sunflowers and countless twinkling candles, creating a dreamy and warm setting for Alex's proposal. As Alex knelt on one knee and presented the ring Alex had personally designed, named Warm Sun, Clara was already overwhelmed with emotion, tears streaming down Clara's face. "I do," Clara choked out, nodding vigorously. Alex placed the ring on Clara's finger, stood up, and held Clara tightly in Alex's arms, as if Alex held the entire world. Just then, the glass door of the cafe was gently pushed open, and the wind chimes gave a crisp ring. Isabella stood at the doorway. Isabella had lost a lot of weight, wearing a faded old trench coat, Isabella's face devoid of makeup, and Isabella's expression haggard. Isabella watched Alex and Clara in their tight embrace, saw the happy tears on Clara's face, and a smile, uglier than a cry, appeared on Isabella's own. Isabella didn't come in to disturb Alex and Clara, merely gazing at Alex deeply, deeply, one last time, across the sea of sunflowers and warm candlelight. In that gaze, there was overwhelming regret, unspeakable pain, a trace of humble blessing, and complete, resigned despair. Then, Isabella slowly turned around, step by step, walking into the night outside, Isabella's frail silhouette quickly swallowed by the darkness. Alex knew that this time, Isabella had truly let go. All the entanglements between Alex and Isabella, with Isabella turning away, completely vanished like smoke. Holding Clara in Alex's arms, Alex lowered Alex's head to kiss away the tears from the corners of Clara's eyes. Gazing at the brilliant starry sky outside the window, Alex's heart filled with an unprecedented tranquility. Everything from the previous life was like a nightmare of fiery immolation. Thankfully, Alex had woken from the dream. From the ashes, Alex had been reborn. And by Alex's side, there was now a warm sun.